Hi, I'm Nan Simonson, author of Aging Powerfully. I am, at 70 years old, determined to lead a movement in America to help people understand that 70 and 80 and 90 isn't old unless we let it be. We can decide based on our lifestyle, which includes getting enough sleep, getting enough movement, having community around us, it matters, having a purpose, and nourishing ourselves well. If we do that, hey, at 40 and 50, you can stay healthy. We're seeing people go downhill then. At 60 and 70, you can be playing with the grandkids at the beach as if you were 40 years old. At 80 and 90, we may look a little wrinkled, but we're not going to be incapable of trotting around the block, going up, as I do every morning, a mountain for an hour and 15 minutes, riding for an hour and a half as I did this morning on my bike, because we feel great. And we do that by eating well and other lifestyle modifications. And I covered that in my book, but there are no recipes there. On my YouTube channel, Nan Simonson, on my website, nansimonson.com, I have videos, I have recipes. I am on Instagram and Facebook at Aging Powerfully with Nan. And I'm glad you're joining me for the cooking class. I'd love to have you join me on other platforms. What we're going to do today, tomorrow is Valentine's Day, and I got a gorgeous, I'm looking at a huge, beautiful bouquet of red roses. And one of the things that we love, my husband is a CPA and tax attorney, and guess what? It is in the middle of February. Well, it'll be February 14th tomorrow. And he's in the middle of tax season, so he gets home late. And I like to have a wonderful meal for him, things that he really likes. He loves a mushroom sauce. And the mushroom sauce I serve, because I am whole food plant-based, with no additional oils, no animal products, certainly no butter, no cheese. And it is fabulous, served over mashed potatoes, rich and creamy and delicious. Again, no animal product. So I have the mashed potatoes. It's called cauliflower mashed potatoes, I think, on my channel. And they are fabulous. So we're doing that tonight. Big old pile of mashed potatoes. I have baby portobello mushrooms here and some porcini that I had in my cupboard that were dry, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I want to get something started. So this is a dry pan. This is a non-stick pan. You want to get the kind that is not Teflon, that doesn't have a bunch of chemicals. This is from Denmark. It's called Scan Pan, but look up safest non-stick surfaces, and you're going to see the titanium ceramic, and this is one of them. So I have a dry pan, and I simply put some medium heat. It can be medium high, and I put sliced white onion. I like the sweet white onion. And I'm going to tell you what I have here in my bowls. First of all, this was 1.5 pounds of baby bell mushrooms that I picked up at Costco for, what is it, $5.49 for the 1.5 pounds. You'll see they shrink down to not a lot, but the two of us can eat most of this tonight. This is our I'll just call it the meat replacement, but I don't think that way because we don't need to replace the meat. Did you know that every vegetable has protein in it? Every plant has protein in it. Grains and seeds and nuts and legumes all have protein, as do mushrooms. So I have in this bowl the water that I use to rehydrate my porcini mushrooms. I went to Amazon a few months ago. I ordered dried porcini mushrooms. They were not terribly expensive. This is 1 pound, and that'll last me quite a while. So I took a handful, put it into water, put a bowl that fits just barely into this so that the mushrooms would be held underwater. And now I have mushroom broth. If I didn't have this, I would have pulled out, I'm going to grab it and show you, this jar, which is my broth jar. I have in my freezer, ready to go now, a 1 gallon Ziploc bag full of scraps of vegetables, because I'm not going to throw them away. Things like the onion tops and bottoms, scallion roots, and the back part of the green ones. I even use carrot greens. I don't use a lot of the cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower and broccoli and cabbage, because they make it a little bit cabbagey, but I'll put a little bit of that in there. I have asparagus tonight. I'm going to roast asparagus, garlic roast, no oil needed, in my Breville oven. You can put it in any kind of an oven, and so that will be our meal. Wonderful, delicious mashed potatoes, this mass of mushrooms in a wonderful thickened broth, and roasted asparagus, and then I have a tomato and cucumber salad with balsamic vinegar over that, and it's a great meal. All right, so if you look at this, you can see them browning slightly, but watch what I do, or watch what happens when I add a little bit of this broth. You see this bubbling up? That's called deglazing the pan. A lot of people think, yeah, you've got to deglaze by using fat and cooking it and getting it caramelized and then adding a broth or water or wine. No, you don't have to use the fat. Why don't I eat fat? Because it's 4,000 calories a pound. I don't count calories, but I am aware that because there are no nutrients to speak of in the oil, I would rather eat olives rather than olive oil. It's a processed food. I'd rather eat corn than corn oil. I eat a lot of soy. I eat nuts and seeds, so I don't need walnut oil and those kinds of things. And it's they're also full of the omega-6s, and I'm trying to get a better ratio with omega-3. That's where we get our our essential fats, the omega-3s and 6s, but the 6s are more dominant, and they will sort of overpower the 3s. And we need a ratio of about 1 to 1, 1 to 3, 3 being the omega-6, and most Americans have, because of all the processed food most people eat, have a ratio of about 1 to 20, some say 1 to 30. Now, what am I adding to this? I went out in my garden and I picked a jalapeno pepper because we like a little bit of heat. And I did a video today where I used a bell pepper, and it was a beautiful bell pepper, and I thought, why not add a little bit of the red to it? So this is caramelized enough. This is giving me enough additional flavor that when I add these mushrooms, which will immediately render their moisture, I'm going to get a pot of moisture building up. I don't want to put it too high. I'm going to let these wilt down a little bit, and then I'm going to add the porcini mushrooms. But I'm also going to add, shake this out of here. Just a moment. Let's see. Oh man, just walk away and grab it. I have to walk out of the picture for a minute. I didn't bring a spoon over. I roasted some garlic a couple of days ago. Big giant heads that I bought. Beautiful big heads of organic garlic. And I roasted them. Well, they melt down like paste. and they're lovely. So I'm going to make this garlicky, but I'm going to do it with roasted garlic. Okay. And stir this up a bit. All right, now they're wilting down a little. I'm going to use a little bit more of the porcini broth. Don't throw this away. Now, don't drink it raw. For example, this broth that I make out of my scraps, as soon as that bag is full, I cover the scraps. I have a stock pot. I cover the scraps by about 1.5 inches of water, cook them for a couple of hours, drain it, and freeze some and put a quart of it in my jar. So I'm ready to do that tomorrow. And that I can drink, it's been cooked. But raw mushrooms that have been dried, I don't know, yeah, they would be raw. I don't know what they have in that fertilizer, and I don't know where they've been. And I don't think it's a good idea, actually, to drink any. I mean, they're saying that I follow Joe Furman, who is a physician, who is very heavily into nutrition. He doesn't recommend that we, this is smelling so good, that we eat raw mushrooms at all because of it's not an aflatoxin, that's more with peanuts, but the possibility of some toxins, especially in the fertilizer, even though most mushrooms that I buy, for example, the baby portobello, are organic. All right, these are cooking down beautifully. The smell is fabulous. I'm going to add to it some oregano and thyme, a heaping 1/4 teaspoon of, oh boy, that hit me, the fragrance. No, yes, oregano and thyme. I was going to use herbes de Provence, but that includes a rosemary, which is okay, but it also quite often includes lavender. And that brings an element that I'm not crazy about with something like mushrooms. I think they can do without that. And then, and this is an ingredient you may or may not want to add if you're watching your salt. I'm going to add a vegan, because my diet is vegan, but I stick with the term whole food plant-based because Oreos are vegan and potato chips are vegan. And I don't even have I'm not crazy about the artificial meat products. Those are really good transitionally if you're thinking, you know, I've heard that plant-based diets are a great way to get off of insulin if you are a type 2 diabetic, to quell cardiovascular disease, treat it, and in some cases reverse it, and it's true. And so it's a smart thing to do, but not everybody has to look at this and say, well, I can't do it all, and so I won't do any. Just add more whole plant foods to your diet, and your body will thank you for it for one very important reason, and that is the gut. Your gut, your microbiome, has trillions. Some say 30, some say 100. Who cares? A trillion is a lot. More cells than in your body. And of, well, gosh, yeasts and funguses and bacteria, something called archaea. And what it does, what your microbiome does, is that it creates short-chain fatty acids that make a huge difference in the way that our body functions. 70% of our serotonin comes from our gut and our other neurotransmitters. So I'm talking as I'm cooking this down, because now I'm thickening it. And this is where the flavor is. I'm gonna pretty well stop because I don't want this to cook down to such a point that the mushrooms are just all shriveled. I want them to have some body to them. Oh, I forgot my porcini, man. All right. Yay. Oh, this is so beautiful. My husband Tim's gonna love this. I'm gonna love this. Okay. It's smelling fabulous. I wish you could smell it. I'm going to add to this. Now probably, I don't do it every time. Quite often I serve it just like this. But maybe because of the potatoes being potatoes as opposed to, oh, let's say serving this as a side dish on its own, but I want something to add moisture to the potatoes. Even though they're not dry, I just think it's great to have a gravy. I may add more of this and then a little bit of cornstarch to thicken it. I don't know that I need to do this because it's really getting thicker now, but I did that once and I like the results. So what I'm gonna do, because I think we may be eating pretty soon, it's just to show you, I'm gonna put some of my chopped parsley on it, but I'm not gonna stir it in because I don't want it to wilt. To add acid, am going to add a little bit of balsamic vinegar. And this is from California Balsamics. It's a shake well because it's a mixture of other ingredients. This one is called Gilroy garlic. And it's a reduced, lower acid balsamic vinegar that, and I'm not going to turn it as I said, but otherwise I would with turn this off. With the balsamic vinegar. The balsamic vinegar adds the acid that you need in mushrooms. You can use red wine vinegar, just a little bit. You can use balsamic. You can use a nice sherry vinegar, just a little bit. And it adds a spark to that almost muskiness, that umami. Okay, I'm gonna call this done until just before he may not be home for an hour, I don't know. Yes, it is Saturday, but that's what happens when you're working 6 days a week for the tax season. So I'm going to leave this here. I may add more broth and thicken it, I'll decide, but most of the time we eat it just like this. And what I'm looking at is beautifully cooked mushrooms. There's some porcini, there's portobello. Oh, my gosh, that is so good. If you use salt, you can crack some salt over it, crack some pepper over it, add any other seasonings you like. But here, take a look. Isn't that pretty? So, when I talk in another video about sauteing mushroom without oil, dry pan sauteing, you'll know what I'm talking about. Excuse me. Have a great day. Please share the video. Please share about my channels. Please share about my book. Let's make a difference in this world and stop the sickness that is becoming rampant. We can do that. Have a great day because I know I'm going to. Bye.